Hello, love tubers. I hope y'all had a magnificent weekend. I didn't really have downtime, but whatever time I could squeeze in between, I started rereading the book from the beginning to make sure I was catching everything. We're going to wrap up chapter 5 today. Chapter 5 is in regards to the science of generating income. Speaking of which, to generate some income, if you need me, I do have proofreading and editing services available on Craigslist listed under Indianapolis, but anywhere that you are in the world, if you need me to proofread your book, I can. And then, yeah, proofread and edit, or if you need any other kind of creative service at a cost-effective price. Okay, and I have been studying other ways to generate some income, so I will be getting into that later once this chapter is wrapped up. All right. Okay, so let's see. If you're just now tuning in, topics that have been discussed are what is money, the myths about money, the science of spending, the science of debt. We are now on the science of generating income. Lord knows I need to generate some income. Some other people probably do too. All right. So we ended with Dan. Dan asked the question, what is the shift in mindset that someone has to go through as they earn money and plan the cash flow of a business, as opposed to getting a steady paycheck every 2 weeks? Let's get into it, shall we? Brian answers. Experts have studied times of major layoffs when thousands of people get laid off. Industry downturns like those in aerospace or technology or other shifts in the economy. Many times people get laid off with a big lump of severance pay, sometimes several $100,000. They've been working for 10 or 20 years, they've built up their reserves and they're paid on them. So then these people decide, well, daggone it, I'm going to start my own business, which is becoming more and more common. The biggest group, percentage-wise, of new business startups is people in their 50s. Really? Oh, I don't feel so by myself after all. I'm not quite 50 yet, but it's good to know that it's mostly people that are a little up there, or elder, or up there, or a little older. Surprisingly enough, an even bigger percentage is women. Really? Women are starting businesses more often than men of all ages. The first thing that happens to these new business owners is that they are shocked they have to do everything themselves. Like little things like answering the phone, emptying the wastebasket, making the coffee, packing boxes, and so on. And if they'd worked for a large or even medium-sized company, it has a division of labor. When people start their own businesses, there's nobody else. That is so true. Nobody else there. Earl Nightingale used to say that the biggest mistake you could ever make is to think that you work for anybody else but yourself. It's only once your business starts to become successful that you can afford to get help. When I started my business, I had no illusions at all. I got a typewriter. I typed my own sales letters, my own letters of agreement with clients. I had to do my own mailing to get something professionally typed. I'd have to take it to a typist to get something produced. I'd have to design it, to take it to a designer, take it to a printer. I have been working for a year, flat out hard work. I designed my own brochures. I made my own sales calls. I brought people into my own seminars. I wrote up the name tags. I delivered the seminar. I served the coffee. I set up the tables and chairs. This sounds like when I am at vendor events and I've got to set up my tables and stuff. That's what this sounds like. Okay. I did 100% of it by myself with my wife helping me. It was only after a year and a half, that I got 1/3 of a secretary because I worked with two other guys who were consultant salespeople. We had one secretary, Monica, and we had 1/3 each. It was only after another 6 months that my business had grown enough that I was able to hire Monica full time. So I had my first full time employee who could do all the little things that I had been doing, and then a second and a third, and so on. But that's how it works when you start a business. We said before that if you start a business with too much money and you start hiring too many people, it's astonishing how fast you can go through all your cash. Therefore, the first thing you have to understand is that you're going to be responsible for everything, especially revenue generation. So people in my inbox who ask me where I'm at, I am busy because I do everything myself. All right. I've seen so many business owners lose everything. They say, I will hire a good salesperson. No, you won't, because good salespeople won't work for you. That's because they're already selling something and making really good money at it. With an established company, an established product line, an established clientele, and a reputation in the marketplace. Brand. That has to do with branding. All right. I remember that I made this mistake. I hired this salesman. His name was Dennis, and he was absolutely awful. He had a great story about what a top salesperson he was, but basically he bled my company dry, promising me room full of customers, piles of sales, checks coming in any minute. I don't think he ever made a sale in 3 months. Whew. He took a big draw and took commissions on sales that he was supposed to have made. Supposed to. After 3 months, I confronted him and he walked out. I never saw him again. And so I learned that I had to make all the sales myself. I'm really big on the importance of the sales function. If you're not a salesperson, you find a partner who is. One of the great partnerships with Hewlett Packard, Bill Hewlett was tremendous at engineering and developed the first product for Hewlett Packard, which was an oscilloscope. Dave Packard was a famous marketer and salesman. This turned out to be one of the greatest partnerships in world business history. Bill and his ever-growing squad of engineers developed fabulous products. Dave and his ever-growing squad of marketing and sales people went out and sold them all over the world. So if you're the kind of person who has no sales ability, and if you're not paired with someone who really is good at selling, don't start a business. It's just too dangerous. Dan. Finally, thanks for tuning in, Leftovers. Finally, for investors, what are some of the best strategies you know for generating a strong and consistent income from your investments? Be they financial investments like stocks, bonds, and annuities, or real estate investments. Brian. The most important thing to realize is that when you buy an investment, you are gambling against the knowledge and experience of the person who is selling it. You are believing that it will go up in value. They are believing that it won't, or even worse, that it will go down. That's why every stock exchange is a zero-sum game. The person selling it believes that it is maxed out in value. The person buying it hopes that it's going to be higher. Well, that's like oil and vinegar. With regard to real estate, income-producing real estate, commercial real estate is one of the best foundations for a fortune. But commercial real estate is not a slam dunk. Put a 1 there. Best. I have 2 friends who are full-time experts in commercial real estate with 10, 20 years of experience. They developed, owned, and operated millions of dollars worth of commercial real estate, office buildings, industrial buildings, hotels, and so on. They both went bankrupt when the market went down because they had mortgages. The mortgages were based on the leases, but the clients went bankrupt because the economy went down. They did not have enough money to carry the building. The buildings were taken back by banks and the mortgage companies, and they both ended up bankrupt. They had to sell their homes, everything. They moved into rented premises with their dear Lord have mercy. Ooh. With their families, and they had to basically go back on the street earning a living, and they had been multimillionaires. I can't even imagine. So you should know that there are people who go bankrupt in commercial real estate all the time. You know that 30% of shopping centers in America today are bankrupt. 30%. Or nearly bankrupt, because it's so much easier to buy millions of items online. You don't have to get in the car, drive across town, find a parking space, go to a store, find that they don't have your size or your color or what you were looking for. You just go online, click, and you get the exact size, shape, color at a discount price delivered to your door the next day. And that's why Amazon is a top seller. Ooh-wee. Oh my goodness. Now, 30% of shopping centers are going to bust and being converted into bowling alleys and gyms or public service operations. Going bust must mean ending. Where instead of shelves and products in the store, they have desks. The very best investment in something that yields you a steady, consistent, positive cash flow. In some investments that I've gone into, they will actually sell you a piece of property yielding no cash flow. You'll buy it at break even. Break even. It earns you nothing. You pay for the money, you have to pay for the mortgage, you have to give personal guarantees, and all you do is break even. Because the property is earning just enough to pay the mortgage. Why? It's because the following year you can raise the rents a little bit, and the following year you can raise the rents a little bit more, like the example I gave you with the apartment. I actually bought a property where it is costing me money to service it each month, but I had a tenant, and then I just increased the rents gradually. So today I've gone into multi-million-dollar investments where you just break even. But it's a good project. And the project is in a growing area, and the project is solid if you hang in there. After the first or second year, you're making a slight profit. The third or fourth year, sometimes it takes about 7 years before you're actually making a positive cash flow that pays back the dry years. This is very, very common in buying commercial property. It's very common. Dan, Brian, give us the key takeaways of the principles of income, taking income as an investment or an employee. Principles of income. Brian, first of all, generating income is always risky because everybody wants income. Everybody wants high income. Everybody wants assured income. As a good friend of mine said, speaking to an MBA class, the 3 factors that you're going to have to deal with throughout your career, which are going to determine everything that happens to you, are competition, competition, and competition. Everybody wants the good life. Everybody wants to earn good money. Everybody wants a steady cash flow. Everybody wants profits and a good standard of living. So in everything that you do, you are surrounded by hundreds of thousands, millions of people who are competing with you to get the same limited amount of cash flow. Competition. This is why, as Warren Buffett says, the best investment you can make is into index funds. I mentioned that Buffett spends 80% of his time studying his investments. Carlos Slim, one of the richest men in the world, spends 80% of his time studying his investments. That's who you are going against. You're going against brilliant people with decades of experience who have incredible amounts of knowledge and access to the smartest people in the world, and even they make 25 to 30% of the time. Therefore, the best thing of all, if you're going to invest, is invest with experts, people with a proven track records, people with a history of making money, and people who have their own money on the line along with yours. The best investments I can ever make were with people who would put their money in next to mine and who made nothing unless I made money. We made money at exactly the same rate and exactly the same percentage. Those are the best investments of all. We have finished chapter 5. All right. We will start on chapter 6 tomorrow. Okay? Yes. Awesome. This has been delicious so far. Hello, love tubers. Have a wonderful rest of your day, darlings. Don't forget, I'll put the links below.